If you have a felony, it can feel like every serious door is already closed. Jobs, housing, licenses, and background checks can feel harder. Voting can feel harder too. After a while, it is easy to wonder if a record follows you into every part of public life. So let's answer the question directly. Yes, a felon can run for President of the United States. A felony conviction by itself does not automatically disqualify someone from running. That does not mean it would be simple. It does not mean the campaign would be realistic. And it does not mean there are no legal or practical barriers. But the basic answer matters. A criminal record is not the same thing as a total removal from civic life. In this video, we'll break down what the Constitution requires and why voting rights are separate. We'll also cover what can truly disqualify someone and what real-world barriers still matter. Here's the part that surprises people. The Constitution's basic list is short. To be president, a person must be a natural-born U.S. citizen. They must be at least 35 years old. They also must be a U.S. resident for at least 14 years. The federal government summarizes these constitutional requirements for presidential candidates. That's the starting point. Article 2 of the Constitution does not include a general rule saying no felony convictions. The Presidential Eligibility Clause lists the basic qualifications, and felony status is not one of them. That is why a person can have a felony conviction and still be legally eligible to run for president. But be careful with the word eligible. Eligible does not mean likely to win. Eligible does not mean every state ballot process will be easy. Eligible does not mean a person avoids prison, probation, or parole. It also does not avoid court dates, travel limits, or public scrutiny. It only means the felony conviction by itself is not an automatic constitutional disqualification. The Congressional Research Service has made the same point. The constitutional qualifications for president do not address felony conviction status in general legal analysis, so the legal door may be open. But this is where people often mix up two different rights. A person may be eligible to run for president even if their own voting rights are restricted because of a felony. That sounds strange at first. Most people think, if I can't vote, how could I run? But legally, those are separate questions. Presidential eligibility comes from the U.S. Constitution. Felony voting rights are mostly controlled by state rules. The federal government explains that felony voting rules vary by state, and different states restore rights at different points. Some states restore voting rights after release from prison. Some require completion of parole or probation. Some have stricter restoration processes that can affect whether a person can vote in their state. It does not change the basic constitutional answer about running for president. So if you have a felony and want to understand your voting rights, check your state's current rules. That is a real issue, and it matters. But do not assume that losing the right to vote for a period of time means you're automatically barred from running for federal office. Now, felony status by itself is not the problem. But the Constitution does have other rules that can stop someone. The Constitution does include disqualifications. They are just not a general felons can't run rule. One major limit is the two-term rule. Under the 22nd Amendment, a person generally cannot be elected president more than twice. Another possible disqualification comes from impeachment. If a federal officer is impeached by the House, convicted by the Senate, and the Senate also votes to disqualify that person, they can be barred from future federal office. Then there is the 14th Amendment's Insurrection Clause. It can disqualify certain oath-takers who later engaged in insurrection or rebellion. It can also cover giving aid or comfort to enemies of the United States under the Insurrection Clause. Those rules are serious, but they are not the same thing as a normal felony conviction. So being accused of a crime is not automatically the same as being disqualified. Being indicted is not automatically the same thing either. And even being convicted of a felony does not automatically trigger one of these constitutional disqualifications. That distinction matters because people often collapse everything into one simple idea. Criminal case equals can't run. The law is more specific than that, but even when the legal answer is yes, the practical side can be much harder. Legal eligibility does not mean a campaign would be easy, affordable, or realistic. Presidential candidates have to deal with ballot access rules, filing deadlines, signatures, and paperwork. They also need staff, fundraising, and public attention. Those rules can vary by state, and missing deadlines can shut down a campaign fast. Money also brings legal duties. Once a presidential candidate raises or spends more than $5,000, federal campaign rules require registration. The candidate must also designate a principal campaign committee within the required timeline according to the Federal Election Commission. And for someone with a felony, the practical barriers can be even heavier. If the person is incarcerated, campaigning is extremely difficult. If they are on probation or parole, supervision rules and travel restrictions can limit them. Court dates and permission requirements can also affect what they can do. Then there is public trust. Voters may care about the type of offense, how long ago it happened, what the person has done since, and whether they believe the candidate is fit to lead. So the law may allow something that life circumstances make very hard. Yes, a felon can run, but no, that does not mean the path is simple. Most people are not asking this because they actually plan to run for president. They are asking something deeper. Does a felony permanently remove me from society? The answer is no. Your record can create real barriers, but it does not erase you. A felony conviction by itself does not automatically stop someone from running for president. Voting rights are a separate issue. Other constitutional disqualifications are specific, and practical barriers can still be very serious. If this helped, like this video, subscribe to Fresh Start Society, and visit freshstartsociety.hq.com for more information.